Blades Ramble are proudly supported by our main channel sponsor, My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. We would not be where we are without the incredible support of John and the team. If you're looking to grow your business, contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk today for more information or follow the link in the description below.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
And welcome back to the wrong intro. Fantastic. Yes, here we are. It wouldn't be a Ramble stream without it. Completely the wrong intro. I'm scrambling now, guys, trying to sort out what we're doing here. Now, welcome along to All Aboard the Championship, everybody. I'm just going to mess around with this and let Lewis take you through the first game. An absolute blockbuster on a Friday night for the second place team in the league, Middlesbrough, travelling to Hull. Top 20 takes, Lewis. Tell me about it.
Yeah, Hull 1, Middlesbrough 4, and Borough once again, cooling any fears of a post Rob Edwards collapse as they dismantle Hull in the first half. So a week earlier, Hull were celebrating an away win at Stoke and were flying out of there. Borough make it 4-0 before half time through Strelic, Gilbert, Morgan Whittaker, and Riley McGree. And then Joe Gelhart on the score sheet again for Hull converts a pen late on, but a mere consolation. And Middlesbrough are really impressed because after Rob Edwards leaves, you wonder, is that going to upset the apple cart? A new manager coming in, a fairly unknown manager. And excellent from them. And they go from strength to strength, still in there, now looking to clip the heels of Coventry.
Indeed, yeah. Do you think they've got that in the tank, mate, to go and make a challenge for Coventry? I think 10 points above everybody else at the moment. They seem to be a little bit away, although the form has been stuttering for them as well. Do we see Middlesbrough as? Do we think? I don't think there's quite a few who are still completely not completely convinced that Middlesbrough are going to last the course and go top two. I think there will come challenges from sides, namely Ipswich and Southampton, who I think will claw back into that equation, but we'll have to see, won't we, mate? Because I think they are showing enough form to suggest that they could go and see out the whole thing and finish in second spot.
Yeah, and I think it's going to largely depend on some of the teams you mentioned there, Ipswich and Southampton, and their seemingly resurgent form. In terms of catching Coventry, I still think it's going to be difficult. It depends on what Coventry do next, because, as you say, they're stuttering at the moment. You would think they'll right that fairly soon. But I see Middlesbrough being there or thereabouts, but they're going to have some stiff competition for sure.
We move on. So that was Friday night, and it seems like a mile. So long ago, doesn't it now? But Saturday, we're on to Swansea versus Oxford. A game down at the bottom, two sides that are struggling for form at the minute. A massive result for Swansea City. Again, I see both of these sides. They'll be hoping to pull out of that equation at the bottom, but I think I see them both down there, and this being a massive 6-pointer.
Yeah, indeed, and a much-needed win for Swansea after what was, as we all know, a big dip in form. It failed to win in their previous 7 games, and 6 of them were defeats. One thing I'm going to pick out as you set our overlay there correctly. Well done, mate. And one thing I'm going to point out is the Josh Tymon goal. He provided the assist for the first goal, but gives Oxford a mountain to climb with a left-footed volley for the ages from outside the box. I don't know if you caught it. Unbelievable strike. Absolutely wonderful goal.
I did.
Yeah. And,
so I wrote it down. Goal of the month, left foot volley, was my my write up on that one. Yeah, you're right. And our 5 previous defeats as well, mate. That's huge, isn't it?
It is. And is it the start of a turnaround for them? I don't know, because obviously we'll move on to another result that they've managed to get in this past week, only yesterday. It feels like something's starting to turn for them. But 2 home games and maybe 2 winnable home games, so maybe we shouldn't get too excited.
Yeah, but again, if I were them in the position that they were in, I would be getting excited, because 5 defeats on the bounce. You always want to try and get yourself back on track, and they've certainly done that. Obviously, Southampton and Birmingham, 2 teams that a lot of people fancied at the start of the season. Obviously, Brum have chucked a lot of wedge at it in recent times. I think Southampton, if you look at the squad that Southampton are working with, despite their poor start to the season, they've got some really, really top talent at this level, and they're starting to click a little bit. 3-1 at home to Birmingham, who don't have a great away record in the division. And yeah, it's a good result for Southampton.
It is, and back to winning ways with 2 victories in the last week after a blip at Millwall the previous week, as we know, not an easy place to go. The first against a Birmingham side that's been steadily climbing the table themselves with 4 wins from their previous 6. So one thing to pick out was Damari Gray again, who looks, oh yeah, unbelievable goal, and looks to have given Birmingham a lifeline in this game. Again, he'd scored another one similar. I'm trying to remember who it was against. It was the previous week, I think Norwich. Was the team he scored a similar goal against. Adam Armstrong, obviously, with a second goal, just easing the game away from the Blues later on. But I don't know. Quick word on the 2 teams and their promotion aspirations. I know how you feel about Southampton. I feel very similar. I think they're going to really push in this as we approach the second half of the season. Birmingham, really not sure. As you say, not great on the road. They've got some really good players. I think they've recruited well, but just a little bit of inconsistency there. Is it just them getting used to the level, do you think?
Yes. I think that Birmingham are a good side, and I think Birmingham could turn up anywhere and take 3 points off anyone in this division.
Yeah.
I think they've got a good work ethic. Stansfield's a good lad. Obviously, we know about Doyle as well. I think that he's building a side there. Cashin can't get a run there, can he, at the minute, which is a bit of a shock. But they have got a good side. I just think they're a little bit, like you say, inconsistent, and whether that'll be enough for them to sort of make it into the playoffs or dislodge some of the guys with the more established players, should we say, is time will only tell, because as we know in this league, it's about consistency. It's about stringing things together, and they're not really showing that they're doing that at the minute. I think they're up about 10th or something at the moment, aren't they? Yeah. But no, it's. I mean, if you're a Blues fan, you'd be happy, won't you? Because where you were 2 or 3 years ago, but expectations shift as we know, and the fans might be demanding a little bit more. But I think they can be happy with what they're seeing at the minute, and certainly if they don't go up this year, I expect them to be supported for next season, and they will certainly be players next year in the promotion scrap, shall we say. We move on to Sheffield United, a 4-0 victory for Sheffield United at home to Stoke. The best performance of their season so far, caps off a great week for them, and obviously Blades fans everywhere are delighted at the minute.
They are, and they were imperious in this one, weren't they? And they dominated throughout. Looked like a team that were 10 points clear at the top. We know that's not the case. We know the first part of the season that they've had. But Mark McGuinness gets Sheffield United off the mark with a header. Femi Siriki, fantastic strike that the Blades fans will remember from 20 yards, the pick of the goals in this game. Bamford, and then Peck with a 4th from the penalty spot. Thoughts on Sheffield United as a late playoff arriver? I mean, we'll go into, obviously they've had another game since where they didn't quite get the result that they wanted. Do you still think there's possibility for them to make a late run?
Yeah, it's never easy, because we're both massive Sheffield United fans. Put it out there.
We're out, we put it out there.
We're trying to show is we'd be kidding people if we said any other. But it was brilliant on Saturday, and it sort of showed what they're capable of a little bit. And for a side in Stoke who are hugely competitive this season, 4th in the division, very well arrived with a lot of respect for Stoke and what they're trying to do this season, and the way they've gone about it. Good manager, Robbins. I think they've got a lot of the tools that are required. Do you think they're going to last the course? Only time will tell. But for me, I think those promoted sides, especially when the teams that have come down, particularly when the games come thick and fast, I just feel like there's an advantage there for some of the sides with slightly deeper squads in terms of quality, certainly at the top of the pitch, like Southampton, like Ipswich, like Sheffield United. I would say Leicester, but their points deduction, you could argue, is going to be what defines this season for them. But those sorts of sides, when you have a lot of games, they can rotate, and they've usually got guys sat watching who are as good or can be better than the guys that are on the pitch sometimes. So I think it kind of suits those squads, and that's just my opinion. I think it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds, but certainly a standout performance and a standout result for Sheffield United there. QPR 3, West Brom 1. QPR, the R's doing a decent job this season, a side that have always had mixed results in recent seasons, as far as I'm concerned. Always a hard place to go, Loftus Road, obviously, and so it proved so for West Bromwich Albion, who are certainly stuttering from their status as one of the top sides in the Championship in previous years.
Indeed. And I feel like QPR have snuck up the table recently. We'll go on to, obviously, they've had another game since, suddenly finding themselves in 6th place as I speak.
Yeah.
But they've, now won and 4 of their last 5 up to this game. Varane and 2 goals from Burrell settled this one. Hegerberg, again for West Brom, who I picked out before, but a mere consolation for West Brom, unfortunately. Another defeat for West Brom. They've had, it's not been a good run for them. Is Ryan Mason in trouble, do you think, mate?
100% he's in trouble because West Brom fans, the board, everybody involved know that they are or have previously been a playoff side. They were a yo-yo team for many years in the Premier League, and they even established themselves there for a few years, didn't they? So there is money in the club, and they've always spent money. Well, I know a bit more. Not always spent money, but they've certainly spent well enough to be a challenger in this division, and I just don't think it's happening for him. A very inexperienced manager, obviously. I think he was in the Spurs backroom before, wasn't he? So I think his days may be numbered, especially if we have I think they were 3-0 down, weren't they, in the game that we're going to talk about in a bit. At half time, it sounds like the players have fought for him in the second half and got back to 3-2. Because if it goes 4-5-6, this Friday night might be a different proposition for Sheffield United, because they may have had that manager bounce. That is my feeling on it. So yeah, I think they probably kept his job for another week, but he's certainly looking like he might be on borrowed time if he can't turn it around. Preston North End, probably arguably the biggest overachievers in the division, I'd say. Paul Heckingbottom doing quite an amazing job with them at the minute. 1-1 draw with Wrexham, probably a game that they would think, based on form, they may have took all 3.
Yeah, Preston obviously having a terrific season, and Paul Heckingbottom and Stuart McCall again proving that they can squeeze a lot out of the players at their disposal and make something that's greater than the sum of its parts. They're certainly doing that with Preston. Wrexham, though, now on a 9-game unbeaten run in the league. Preston in similar form, with only 1 defeat in their last 8. They cancel each other out here. Kiefer Moore, again, proving to be a spearhead in attack for Wrexham. Harrison Armstrong, leveling for Preston. I mean, thoughts on the two of them? I mean, probably unfancied at the start of the season, both teams, in terms of pushing for top 6, but difficult customers for a lot of sides. I mean, Preston are in and amongst it at the moment. Wrexham aren't a million miles away. I mean, you'd have to think Preston would be the one to get in there. Any chance Wrexham do it? There's a lot of competition in there, isn't there? Teams with a lot of money as well. I know Wrexham have got money, but...
Again, you spoke about a run there, and that's what you need. So Bristol were the ones that did it last year. Coventry obviously came from nowhere to arrive in those playoffs as well. It's about putting a run together, and we all know in this division. That last 10, 12 games, if you can get yourself on a 7, 8 game, 9 game undefeated streak, all of a sudden the table can look very favourably. The one thing about this season is, wherever you are in that division, you're not 1,000 miles away from the playoffs. You're not 1,000 miles away from the drop zone. And what you're hoping for is not to have a run that sees you lose 3 or 4 on the bounce, because all of a sudden you're looking over your shoulder no matter where you are. And it's the same thing when you're in the mid-table. If you can string those results together, this division will reward you with an opportunity towards the end of the season. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know whether Preston or Wrexham are going to maintain this run. Certainly wouldn't have been many people's first choices for promotion at the start of the season, but you just do not know if they can carry on. Who knows? So yeah, we'll move on. We've got the big one, Ipswich and Coventry. Now, I watched this game because it was obviously the featured game, being at the top of the table, Ipswich being the favourites for the title, and Coventry now the favourites for the title. Cov go to Ipswich and lose at 0-0. There is an incident that I have that I struggled to watch and Frank Lampard certainly struggled to watch. In that Eccles for his side had been booked for kicking the ball away when clearly the whistle had gone, and the letter of the law says it's a yellow. Hurst, the Ipswich striker, has been yellow carded, goes for on goal, whistle blows, he slows down, knows the whistle's gone because he's not, and he boots the ball. And I really struggle. And listen, I'm not a football supporter who thinks that you should be getting sent off for booting the ball away. But it was a naive thing to do, but he got away with it. And with that, at 0-0, they go on to win 3-0 against the 10 men. Against Coventry, and that must sting. That must sting.
Yeah, and I saw Frank's post-match interview where he really did his level best to avoid saying more than he needed to about it. He was asked about it and said, look, whatever I say, I don't come off very well. So I thought he did very well, to be honest with you. And for someone that, maybe now he's becoming a more experienced manager and he knows what to say and what not to say and what might get him into trouble. So I thought he did well in that, because it must have been a hard watch for him, as you say. But Coventry's second defeat of the season, obviously they went down at Wrexham. So 2 defeats away from home. Interestingly, just to comment on this, they were without Victor Torp for this one. Well, I think is very important for them. Don't know if that was, directly influential in the result, because Coventry did have chances as well at one point. They go really close early on, hitting the post, but it's got to have done some damage, because you look at the goals and assists he's got and how influential he is when he does play. Maybe it's just one of those moments where you pick up 1 or 2 injuries or suspensions, and you've got to learn to adapt without certain players, and they'll turn a corner again. I'm sure they will. Obviously, it's not been the best last 2 games for them, as we'll move on to talk about. But really, Ipswich did a job on them here.
Yeah, they did, and it sort of throws a little bit of Coventry's invincibility sort of faded in the last week or so, and it feels like there'll be a few looking at that going, oh, if there's a few more dropped points in the next sort of 3 or 4, teams might get the idea that this title is not the done deal that a lot of us thought it might be. On to the next one, Bristol City 0, Millwall 1. Bristol City, obviously the surprise package last season. I think they're tremendously managed. I think they've got some really good attacking threat in Mehmeti and Twine at the top of the pitch, and doing well this season. Have been done really by a side in Millwall who notorious more for their home form, but they are in every game. They are there or thereabouts, and they're managing to get results. Hard team to beat. I don't want to stereotype them as just workmanlike, as a workmanlike team, but I would say that they are a side that people need to worry about.
They are, and they made it 3 wins in a row against Bristol City. They're going really well. They're sat in third going into this game, or going tonight's game against Derby. I have to say, though, little word for Bristol City. They have a last gasp goal wrongly ruled out for offside in that game against Millwall, with no one in an offside position. And I rewound it and I watched it back 3 or 4 times. Struber was incensed at the decision. And obviously the game ends with a what was described as a mass brawl at the side of the pitch. I would call it handbags, personally, if I'm allowed to say that. But it was, described as a mass brawl. It kicked off at the side.
I think you can get away with handbags, mate. I don't think anyone's going to take too much offence to that. That's why I love being with you, mate. You're so straight with it. I love it. So just an update on the scores. Bristol 1, Leicester 2 at the minute, 64th minute. Derby 0, Millwall 0. Ipswich 1, Stoke 0. And Hull City 1, Wrexham 0 as we speak. So yeah, not always roses for Wrexham. We'll say no more. Right, Blackburn 1, Sheffield Wednesday 0. Sheffield Wednesday done and dusted, mate. Are they going to make positive points by the end of the season? It's looking harder and harder as we go along. Blackburn really struggled, but take all 3 in this 1-0 win. It's about resetting now into Sheffield Wednesday. That they've got to look at some of these young players and hope that some of them can cut the mustard for the next season.
Yeah, I think so. And obviously they went close to winning a game last night, which we'll go on to talk about. They'll make positive points for sure. I think there's enough there to do that. It could end up being the lowest points total, in Championship history. But we know the circumstances that surround that. And we've been out as Sheffield United fans, of course, but I've got to take my hat off to Wednesday. I will hold my hands up and say, the players are fighting. They're giving it a go in impossible circumstances. The supporters should be, obviously they didn't enjoy the Sheffield derby. Sorry to mention that, Wednesday fans. But they should be proud of this. I'm not, but they should be proud of the players for the effort that they're showing week by week. It's a difficult set of circumstances, and fair play to them. As Wilder said, Liam Palmer and Barry Bannon, the job they're doing leading that group of players, they've got to be commended for it.
Okay, yeah, we are. Watford 3, Norwich 2. Again, Norwich came and gave a good account of themselves in the most recent game. I get the feeling they're getting closer and closer to that elusive W, having not won for quite some time now. But Watford, we know they've got a few quality players. We love Loser, don't we, over there? He's a player that any side going to the Prem might take a little look at moving forward. But no, 3-2 win for Norwich. For Watford against Norwich. Good game.
Yeah, good game. I mean, Watford denied Norwich back-to-back wins in this. So it's Norwich had beaten QPR the prior week. And the Canaries led this one twice as well. So Kerem Gard levels twice with 2 headers for Watford before Tom Ince eventually seals the win for him. Chances Norwich might. This is just a thought I had, and I wanted to ask your opinion on it, because it was someone that we saw for part of the game at Bramall Lane last night. Chances Norwich might sell Josh Sargent in January to fund a survival kit. Just something that crossed my mind. A player that would have suitors across Europe for sure. Someone that they could get some money for. I don't know his contract situation. But, if he fancied just raking back a little bit of money to bring players in, do you think they'd do that, or do you think he's too important to them?
I'll speak about it from a Norwich City supporter point of view. If you want to survive this season, you don't sell your best player. I think that's for a lot of people would be their stance. And in terms of the sort of monetary reward you get for Sargent, it's one of those ones that is difficult because he's unproven at the top level, and he's a Championship player, which does put a ceiling on his value. So it's whether I don't see them getting the kind of value for him that would be enough for them to go, right, we'll buy 1, 2, 3, 4. Because it's in this market, I don't know where Sargent sits in it, to be frank and being honest about it. So personally, I think you keep him because he's more likely to nick your points than than anyone else, I'd say. I think he's a big player for them, and I don't think they could replace him.
I thought you might say that. So it's official, Norwich fans. We're not selling Josh Sargent. He's staying.
Okay, well, we'll stick to that. Derby 1, Leicester 3. Leicester, are they back on the recovery? Are they a side that, well, obviously depending on what happens with their points deduction, are they a side that could surprise depending on what that deduction is? Do you think with 6 points deduction, Leicester are still in this playoff question? Because I see them picking up a lot of results. Their 2 wide players are arguably the best in the division, in my opinion, potentially. I might get some kickback in the comment for that. But the 2, Mavididi and Fatawa, I believe, are pretty lethal at this level. Could they mount a push if they only lose 6 points?
I think so. I mean, I think obviously there are financial things have been spoken about as well, and the possibility of maybe having to sell players. That's going to have a bearing on it as well. I think if they can keep the squad together, even with a 6-point deduction, there's a chance that they can go and cause some trouble at the top end of the table still. I mean, in this game, they look great. First half blitz, again, seems to be the age of the first half blitz. We've seen a lot of teams recently racing to a big lead in the first half. But yeah, Decordova-Reid on the score sheet, Ollie Skip, Jordan James again on the score sheet for them. I thought they were great in this game. And Derby are a team, I know a Leicester City supporter through work, and he tells me Derby is the team that they really like to beat, which I knew anyway. So a great win for them. They've got a lot of quality, Paul. I think Leicester still, they come down from the Premier League with a lot of quality, and particularly the 2 wingers, as you point out, are a real threat.
Do you see Cifuentes getting the bullet if it's not better by January, middle of January?
I think there are questions over his head. Yeah, I mean, again, speaking to the Leicester City supporters I know, and that one in particular that I referred to, they're unsure. They're unsure on him. I think they came down with big expectations, even in the circumstances that they're in. And I can understand that looking at the squad. So I think he needs to stay there or thereabouts to keep his job.
Yeah. And then we're down to the Valley for a snore draw. It's 0-0. Charlton and Portsmouth, 2 sides glad of the point, but both, I think, needed all 3. Didn't happen for either, so we'll skip past. Last night then, so we're on to a midweek set of fixtures. Obviously, the intensity of this league, 3 games in a week, 3 games in 6 days. If you're a Sheffield United or a West Bromwich Albion supporter. So yeah, very intense. I think there's a bit of rotation in the squads. QPR 2, Birmingham 1. Again, Birmingham failing to pick anything up on the road. QPR able to grind out another close victory. Again, teams looking at them now, going, can they keep it going?
Yeah, and back-to-back away defeats for Birmingham. Obviously, we talked about the result that they had at Southampton. After looking like they were finding some form, QPR on the other hand, as I said earlier, going really well. Crazy end to this game though. Jimmy Dunn puts QPR ahead in the first half. Patrick Roberts scores really late, 3rd minute stoppage time, before Kieran Morgan, not long off the bench, with a low rasping strike from 20 yards. Excellent goal. Loftus Road erupted. Great scenes. As I say, they've surprised me, QPR, of late, mate. They're sat in 6th. Do you think they can stay there? Do you think there's a chance that they can, or is this just a purple patch for them?
I certainly wouldn't have said at the start of the season they'd be in my top 10. I think they've always looked like a side that somewhere between 10th and 8th and 17th, even something like that, would be where I would pitch them at the beginning of the year. I don't see as much of them as QPR fans, so I certainly don't want to play down their current form. But time will only tell, Lou, and I think it's always interesting to see which sides can stick with it. I'll look at that playoff picture, and we'll look at it in a moment. And it feels like there's a few teams there who are going to have a job to keep pace as the season goes along. Usually sides like QPR are relying on, we like Dembele for them. They've got Share as well. or Shair, as we're supposed to pronounce it. And they've got threat who on the day they can turn teams over, and they're proving that they can do that. So I think that they are a side to watch, and I think again on any given Sunday, mate, they can go and turn anyone over. So it's about consistency and if they can carry on with it. Watford now against Sheffield Wednesday. Wednesday led in this one for a long time. Would have been thinking, this is it. Oh, okay. And Watford paid them back late doors.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're at the bottom, the only look you get is none, unfortunately. Wednesday lead through Charlie McNeil, that man again in the first half with a goal. Really good left-footed finish, by the way. Looks a player, that lad. I think he's got a bright future. Stayed like that until the 8th minute of stoppage time. I have to say, though, Watford first win a penalty at some point in the second half. Loser hits the bar, then converted, but disallowed for offside. Semedo eventually, does score late on. I think Pierce Charles needs to do better with that goal. I don't know if you caught it, but it's straight at him and sort of squirms under him. A goalkeeper that's a bit of a prospect, someone that is considered to be, he's going to be a good goalkeeper moving forward and potentially long-term number one for Wednesday if they can keep him. I think he could do better there. He'll be a bit frustrated with that one, I think.
Yeah, I think it's again, like you say, young player, and goalkeeper is very unforgiving because it nearly always results in a goal if you're not quite doing what you thought you should have. So yeah, I think it's unlucky for him, but it's like you said, the luck of the teams at the bottom. It seems to be the way it goes. Swansea 1, Portsmouth 0. Huge win in the basement battle down there. Swansea doing themselves proud here and nicking the points against the side that I think are going to be in that last relegation spot question. I think that they're one of maybe 3 teams that I see falling through the trapdoor at the end of this season, and Portsmouth need to start picking up some points. And fair play to Swansea, whose form has been poor, but then obviously they've had a good week.
Yeah, and as you say, a big game down near the bottom. Swansea take all 3 vital points. Liam Cullen, super left-footed strike to win it into the top corner. Portsmouth, 1 win in their last 10 games, Paul. They're in trouble, aren't they? It's not good reading.
No, like you say, getting on a run in either direction. A good run the other way gets you in the playoffs, and a bad run. Similar story with Charlton Athletic, isn't it, as well? They're a side that have been on a similar kind of trajectory recently, having had a brilliant start to the season. And yeah, it's when they get on this run, they've got to break the hoodoo. And I feel like Swansea are they'll feel a lot better about it now, obviously. But for Pompey losing someone down there with them hurts the players, hurts the club. So we'll see. Southampton 3-0 up at half time. West Brom 2 come racing back. Again, we spoke about the manager's job. We kind of covered this game already. Southampton with a lot of players at the top of the pitch who seemingly can grab a goal for him. Obviously in Finn Azaz as well, I think he's got 6 in 5 or something like that at the moment. Armstrong's obviously always going to be in those top 5 goal scorers in the division, I'd say, when the numbers are tallied at the end of the season. So got a high scoring game for them. Southampton 3, West Brom 2.
Yeah, and just to mention as well, Illing Jr. Plays on the wing for West Brom. Golden chance at the back post to level it. Obviously, West Brom rallied in the second half, as you mentioned, to do their utmost to rescue Ryan Mason, who may have been out of a job had they not had that second half performance. He'll certainly, you would imagine, go into the Friday game against Sheffield United. But yeah, Illing Jr. could have taken a point away. Very good chance at the back stick. But the first half, again, blitz from Southampton, which they've done on other occasions recently, left them scrambling.
Yeah, we'll see about what happens on Friday with that. But Sheffield United, lots of confidence moving into the game, obviously, with the run that they've been on. No less than 8 changes for the fixture. And a feeling for me that with that, a lot of that momentum goes out the window at that point, because all that continuity in terms of the play and the style and the momentum is gone, because you got different players in there, different personnel. We've got Blaster, Oliar Blaster, who's been out for a year, returning to the side in centre mid, having not played a minute yet, and playing a full hour, which must be hard work. I think most people think he played about half an hour on night. Still looks like he's got a touch of class in there, but it was really makeshift for Sheffield United. Illness in the squad, a couple of injuries to contend with, and obviously the 3 games in 6 days playing its part there for them. I thought Norwich deserved credit, because having watched the game, I felt that Norwich certainly are a better side than where they are in the division at this moment in time, and because of that, I do see them climbing the table in the next sort of 10 games or so. But no, 1-1. It was a real scrambly, messy goal for Norwich. Number of opportunities for Sheffield United to get the job done of getting rid. And Danny Ings was a bit disappointed, because I think as the interview went, he could have had an hat trick, Danny, and he went, yeah, thanks a lot, and that was how that went. So yeah, this one's been done to death for a lot of the Blades Ramble people. So we'll move on. Preston and Coventry, 1 apiece. Great result again for Heckingbottom at Preston. Coventry, obviously the team to beat in the division, and they've taken a point.
Yeah, 10-man Preston picking up a point against the league leaders. Who'd have thought that? So might just be the beginning of a little wobble for Coventry these last 2 games. Who knows? One, I think, to be honest, they'll play their way out of ultimately. Preston sending off Liam Lindsay, had to walk under the letter of the law. Last man pull on Haji Wright. In fairness to Coventry, Daniel Everson in the Preston goal had an excellent game. Made some really good saves, and without him, the game could have been different. The goal that beats him is an own goal, horrible deflection off Hughes. And obviously someone that we know from a former parish, Dan Jebison, on the stretch to level. Preston having a really good season, and again you've got to give credit to Paul Heckingbottom and Stuart McCall for that and the job that they've done. Again, Coventry could have turned things around in this game. Great goalkeeping performance from Everson, though.
Yep. Well, for credit where it's due, then, mate. Down to the Valley, Charlton 1, Middlesbrough 2. Charlton continue to struggle. Middlesbrough continue to set the pace in that second spot in the division. Good result for Middlesbrough. Tough night for Charlton again. Obviously going relatively close in this one. What were your thoughts, mate?
Well, obviously, Riley McGree and Morgan Whittaker put Borough 2-0 up before the break. In between that, though, interesting moment when Charlton have a penalty shout. There was contact in the area, but Luke Berry's looking for it, I think, and tries to fool the officials, and they don't bite. But there was a bit of an argument over that. You could see some disagreement on the touchline. Edmonton own goal obviously brings a consolation for Charlton, which made the latter stages a bit nervy. Great result for Middlesbrough. Has the bubble burst completely at Charlton, do you think, or do you think this is just a learning moment for them? They started so well, as you mentioned earlier, seem to be stuck in a rut at the moment. Now down in 19th. I mean, they've plummeted pretty quickly, haven't they, as you can in the Championship?
Yeah, I think it's hard, because we were all lauding the recruitment at the start of the year, saying how well they'd done to come up and be competitive, because they're the ones that came up through the playoffs, weren't they, from League One? So yeah, they come in as as the lowest ranked team in the division, almost on that basis. But they did some really sound recruitment and got a side together, and we're grinding out some really good results. It feels almost like that initial buzz of being promoted and having the status of being a league higher, etc., that energy might have drained away slightly. And instead of like second season syndrome, it may be more like second part of the season. So you get your initial sort of 7 or 8 games, you establish yourself, you get some good results, and you start to think to yourself, we're fine here. And then all of a sudden, you're not fine anymore. And it's difficult to turn that ship around. You're looking at your better players. I think they have got threat at the top of the pitch. Tyrese Campbell's a good player for them at the top of the pitch as well. I think they've got players there that will get them results this season, but it's just about them trying to gain some consistency and start getting back to those levels, because I've been seeing them once this season. I thought I was quite impressed. But no, obviously they're struggling at the minute. I think they're going to get out of it. I think that they've got a bit more than some of the other sides down the bottom there, but they've got to halt it. They've got to turn it around, and the longer that takes, the more the fans will be fearful.
Yeah, agreed.
And finally, here we are. Blackburn 1, Oxford 1. A big game again down at the bottom. Oxford close again in these games. Blackburn's pitch has been the topic of much discussion recently, hasn't it? About whether the condition of it, was it the 90s when they stopped treating it and looking after it? And
yeah, but probably in the Jack Walker days. I mean, they've obviously had 2 games abandoned this season. The first one being against Ipswich, I think I recall it being. But irrespective, great away point for Oxford in a big game down towards the bottom. They nearly had all 3. Kieran Brown just before half time for them, and then Todd Campbell converts a penalty after a Jack Curry handball. Blackburn put a lot of pressure on, though. I think they're a funny one, Blackburn Rovers. Some good players in their side. When you look through the team, you think, yeah, there's players in there that can do bits, but they can't seem to put a sustained run together, can they? You look at Johnson and Ohashi and Campbell, you think, well, there's a lot of quality in there for the level. They just can't quite get it together on a consistent basis, can they?
No, that's right. Like I say, at the top of I like Gudjonsson. He's not quite his dad, but he's certainly got something about him. Certainly at this level, he looks like he's a player that will go on from Blackburn potentially and have a good career. And the young Japanese, isn't it? The Ahashi Moshita. Yes. They scored when it was 1-0, didn't they, against Sheffield Wednesday at the weekend? They combined to score. So yeah, I think it must be quite demotivating. And those pictures of the referee dropping the ball on the soggy pitch, it looks like a Sunday League pitch, to be frank, doesn't it? And it's quite embarrassing, really, when you think of the tech that is used now. These Adesso pitches with the 50% artificial fibers and real grass, and it's all space age, and there's lights on it, and it's crazy, really. Blackburn just decided nah, we'll stick some sand on, go back to the 90s and stick some sand down. I don't know what's happening, mate, but it's
we'll do what we did when we won the Premier League. I think that was the thinking.
Yeah, we'll play that way. It'll be fine. But no, again, remains to be seen. I think they've got enough at the top of the pitch to cause threat, and they had a good second part of the season, didn't they, Blackburn, last year? So I think a lot of their fans will be hopeful that they can do something similar. Now, I do have a couple of things. Jimmy reckons we were linked to that Gudjonsson at one point. He's been around with Cal Fowler. Here he is. Sheffield United squad, Birmingham City squad. So he's been having a row with Fowler because Fowler thinks that Birmingham are going to make the playoffs. He thinks that we're going to make the playoffs, which in the position we're in is a shout. But Sheffield United potentially going to get there too. I don't know, mate. What do you think? I'm gonna pull Birmingham's squad up so we can just have a quick chat about it, and see what their lineups are looking like at the moment, so we're a bit more informed than me and you just naming the players that we know. So I think that the three, obviously, Roberts, and Stansfield and Gray are quite well known players. Damari Gray's obviously been to Everton, Leicester. He's got a rich history of being able to produce something special. Never really done it consistently enough at Premier League level, but at this level, surely he's a bit of a weapon. Roberts has been at this level for a long time as a bit of a standout player for wherever he's been. Middlesbrough. Am I saying that? It was Middlesbrough.
He may have been at some point. I think he was. He was at Sunderland more recently, but I think he was at Borough at some point, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So yeah, it was. It's interesting, isn't it? I don't know how to broach this one. I think that there's quality in this side, and I think they're going to pick up results. I think that their current form shows that they are not going to be bulldozing teams on a regular basis, and certainly that away form is sketchy at best. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one thing that could hold them back. I mean, like you, I really like Jay Stansfield. I like the physical output, the work rate of him. They've got players like you're saying, Damari Gray, that can be a bit of a weapon at the level. They seem to be just for me, it feels like they're trying to learn some of the nuances of the Championship at the moment. They came up obviously with that promotion feel good factor, if you like, that form that they brought in. And then they were a little bit up and down, found some form, and then dropped off again. So there's definite inconsistency there. I think they're just getting used to the level, but they've got to be a shout for it. I would certainly have them top 8 or 9. Whether they make the playoffs or not, difficult to say. I think there's
currently sat in 11th, mate.
They're currently sitting at 11th, aren't they? Yeah. I think they break into the top 8 or 9. That would be my prediction for Birmingham. To be honest, was my prediction at the start of the season when people were getting excited about the business they were doing. I said, well, it's a big leap. If they finish in the top 9 or 10, it's a good season, I think. And I expect them to finish around there, if I'm honest. I would have said differently for Sheffield United, but, we're quite far away from it at the moment. So I think recent form has made us feel like we could make a run for it, but who knows at this stage?
Who knows, indeed. Wow. Let's have a little look. Let's have a little peep then, shall we? Right then. So, top of the shop up there, Coventry City. 44 points so far from 20 games. Great return for them. Or over 3 points a game is never to be sniffed at. Middlesbrough nearly achieving that with their 39. And then we've got Millwall, Ipswich, Preston and Hull. How many of those, on the spot for you here, Lou, how many of those are going to be in there at the end?
I think Ipswich are in there. In terms of the top 6 as a whole, Coventry, Middlesbrough, Ipswich, I would say will be there. I think Southampton, like you, are going to push into there. I wouldn't write Stoke off yet. I would see Stoke getting back into the mix, certainly within the top 7 or 8. Experienced manager, good players at the top of the pitch. I still think even if Leicester get that points deduction, if they keep the squad together, they can make a run. There's going to be a lot of competition in there. I would say of the teams that are in there, yeah, I would pick out those 3, Cov, Middlesbrough, Ipswich. Preston, depends. Some of the squads, I think you mentioned this earlier as well, some of the squads that are a little bit smaller don't have quite the depth. They're just going to be relying on not picking up too many injuries and not getting suspensions at a bad time. Preston could stay in and amongst it, but I think they're going to be relying on that, not picking up too many issues with their availabilities.
Yeah, I think obviously Hull's form looks a little bit edgy there with 4 defeats in 6, but those 2 W's keeping them 6 points from 6 games. Won't be enough, obviously, if that carries on. I do see Hull drifting into the middle at some point because I think that some of the bigger guns in terms like teams like Southampton, Sheffield United will, I think, make a good fist of this towards the end of the season. I think Millwall have the potential to stay there. Look at their form at the moment, doing really, really well. Always hard to beat. And again, they survive in games and they've got the quality at the top to steal games at the moment and nick points there. But then it's anyone's guess. Like, I don't think many people would have had, certainly Coventry at this stage, no one would have had them anywhere near it last season. And Bristol City were a bit of a surprise package too. And I think there's probably room for that type of team to do it this year. Would you say do you think Bristol could do it maybe?
I wouldn't write them off. I mean, like you say, they've got the likes of Mehmeti and Twine in there, and Struber, who I rate as a manager and has come in and breathed a little bit of fresh energy into them. Wouldn't rule them out. They're a very up and down team. I live in that part of the world, as mentioned earlier, not a Bristol City fan, but it's a team I know well. A club I know quite well, and they're very up and down, but they've got the quality. If they can keep players fit, they never have a very big squad, Bristol City, and it's about keeping their core players fit and available. I think that's what's going to do it for them.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think I still see them having a say potentially, but again, they're going to have to, like I say, keep a lot of their players fit and good to go. Now, if you look there, so Birmingham sat in 12th position as we speak, very up and down form as well. And obviously that away form is something that they're going to have to remedy if they are going to, as Cal Fowler likes to tell us, going to make it into those playoffs.
Yeah, and they might go again in January in terms of further recruitment. We don't know. They could go that way and make a real push for it. I think the Birmingham Sheffield United debate, if you like, from a moment ago. I think if you look at the two of them, all right, we're somewhat 5 points behind them. I think both teams need a good Christmas if they're going to make a real push up towards the top end. I think that's going to be crucial. The next 4 or 5 games will be quite telling, I think.
Just to cast our eye down a bit further, Swansea City, couple of victories that make for a much more comfortable reading the table for them at this point. You've got Swansea below Swansea. Sorry, is Charlton. 5 defeats on the spin. They've got to find some form pretty quickly before they end up looking like they're going to be in that bottom 5 conversation. I think Blackburn are going to have enough to get out of it. I also believe that Charlton will have enough to get out of it, but I think they've got to do something fairly quickly. The Swans, despite a good week, I think are going to be in that sort of Oxford-Portsmouth conversation. I think that Norwich as well, I've got a feeling, even though there's still quite a bit of red there, I just have this feeling that Norwich are going to be able to put a run together and not pull away, but certainly get themselves out of that relegation zone.
Yeah, there are signs of life there, aren't there? And we saw last night a pretty decent performance from them. I would go along with your opinion that they were good value for that point, and they very nearly nicked it at the end, as we know. Michael Cooper, the difference between 3 points and 1. So signs of life. I think Norwich, yes, are in with a shout. They've got to start picking up some points soon, though, and keep this trend going of scoring more goals as well.
Well, thank you, Lewis. I've enjoyed it, mate. Once again, I think it's been good going through it all and looking at some of the sides and some of the competition that's going on in this division. Certainly, it's going to go all the way to the wire for me. It's at the top of the division. Still not sure who's going to finish second. Certainly not sure who's going to make the playoffs. I don't see that playoff picture looking the same in 10 games, 15 games time. But you just never know in this division. You just never know. And with regards to Sheffield United or Birmingham City, there'd be a lot of teams who would turn to both sets of fans and say, well, actually, you're nowhere near it at the minute. So I won't be counting any chickens whatsoever. We know how Jimmy Smith thinks about it anyway. I think he thinks that Sheffield United are going to claw back. Certainly on recent form, you could say that, but form is only 5 games away, mate, isn't it? It's in 5 games everything changes, as many supporters know. Certainly Sheffield United supporters at this moment in time. So yeah, thank you for joining us on All Aboard the Championship. Choo choo. Okay, is that what we're going to do to finish, mate?
That's what we're going to finish on.
Thanks for joining us, guys, and we look forward to seeing you all next week.
Shout, shout.